nature study. So this, we're talking about the feast. This would be what I call the dessert. This is the last part of your day, bringing your kids together for something beautiful. Sometimes it's nature study, sometimes it could be poetry, sometimes it's read loud. There's a lot of different things, but it's just a beautiful way to end your day. And so, Allison,
Hi, I'm here.
hello. I love your setup. Okay, can we just all acknowledge how beautiful Allison's aesthetic
No,
is? I feel like I'm back in my original classroom. It's so cute.
no, no. You guys are actually in one of my chairs. I propped up the thing in my chair so you can feel like you're here for a lesson. Nature study, the way that we've done it is how we talked about before, lumping it in as a science. We talked about how Form 2 has 3 days of science. Then there's a natural history day, which we also count as science at our house. And then on Fridays, we have that be our nature study day. And that's one of the only things we do on Fridays. So we're able to get out and do a little bit more in depth with our nature study. So I have a setup here. I'm going to just run through a sample lesson with you guys. I have 6 kids. I have 2 in Form 1, 2 in Form 2, and 2 in Form 3 this year. And we do nature study all together. The Form 3 does a nature journaling lesson, and I have pulled that up. I'm going to actually spin your chair so you can really feel like you're in my classroom here. And here is our nature study video by, you guys see it on there? Yeah, I'm not actually going to play it, but this is what we would do to start off our study. And all 6 of my kids will actually watch this video. We don't only do it for our Form 3 kids, because what it does is it gives them something to focus their nature journaling on. And even my younger kids can focus their nature journaling on the prompt at the end of these videos. So they're about 20 minutes long, which is why I'm not going to spend time doing that. But we would start off our lesson watching the video. And then the Form 1 and 2 lessons are from the Handbook of Nature Study. And I have a digital copy of that. And I have pulled up the lesson on the ways of the ant. And I would read a couple sections of this to my kids. I'll do that. I'll skim some stuff for you guys.
Okay.
I would start with, by far the greater number of species of ants find exit from their underground burrows beneath stones in fields. They like this stone for more reasons than one. It becomes hot under the noon sun and remains warm during the night, thus giving them a cozy nursery in the evening for their young. Some species make mounds, and often several neighboring mounds belong to the same colony and are connected by underground galleries. There are usually several openings into these mounds. In case of some of the western species, which make galleries beneath the ground, there is but one opening to the nest, and Dr. McCook says that this gate is closed at night. At every gate in any ant's nest, there are likely to be sentinels stationed to give warning of intruders. And then I would pick another section. In the same species of ants, 2 sizes. The large ones are called majors and the smaller minors. Sometimes there's a smaller size yet called minims. The smaller sizes are probably the result of lack of nutrition, but whatever their size, they all work together to bring food for the young and in caring for the nest. We often see an ant carrying a dead insect or some other object larger than herself. If she cannot lift it or shove it, she turns around and going backwards pulls it along. It is rarely that we see 2 carrying the same load, although we have observed this several times. In 1 or 2 cases, the 2 seemed not to be in perfect accord as to which path to take. If the ants find some large supply of food, many of them will form a procession to bring it to the nest bit by bit. Such processions go back by making a little detour so as not to meet or interfere with those coming. During most of the year, an ant colony consists only of workers and laying queens, but in early summer, the nest may be found swarming with winged forms, which are the kings and queens. Some warm days, these will issue from their nests and take their marriage flight, the only time in their lives when they use their wings, for ants, like seeds, seem to be provided with wings simply for the sake of scattering wide the species. So I'm not going to read the whole section, but that's an example. And at this point, I would take my whole brood of children outside. We have a sitting spot. So we're actually going to go out there so you can see how quick and easy a nature study can be.
Yes,
So
I love
there
it.
we're marching outside. And I would have loved to do this whole lesson outside, but our sitting spot currently has construction work going on next to it. And I didn't want you to have to try to hear me over the loud beeping noises. But this is our sitting spot. We have a nice tree here. We put out a blanket. And most of the time I would do all that reading out here with the kids. But we would come over here. I already scoped out a little ant nest for everybody. We'll see if you guys can see it there.
No way, that's so cool.
So there's our little ant
Yes,
nest.
I see it.
Yep. So we would come try to see some little ants working on it. And then we would observe them for a while, watching how they behave. And then we have our little specimen jar here. And so I would scoop out some ants and some dirt.
I hope they're not fire ants.
Cover it up, and we would take it back inside after we've been out here 10, 15 minutes watching them. But again, I'm doing an abridged version for you guys. You don't want to watch me sit out here for 15 minutes looking at ants. But we'd take our little bowl of ants back inside, and we would start working on our nature journals, or we might even do them out here depending on the weather. And nature journaling to me is one of the most important parts of nature study, because that's basically the kids' version of narrations for this. I don't ask them to be a verbal retelling of what I read to them in this book. I just ask them to put something they learned about the lesson in their nature journals. So I told you guys I have kids in all three forms. So I brought an example of their ant.
Yes, I love it.
So this is my Form 1 kiddo. And you see they drew an ant. And then I don't know if you can tell what they did, but here, let's see if I can put that up better. Here is a blown up version of an antenna or something. They tried to make it big so you could see. And again, there's a leg. So obviously this is young kids. This is my,
yes, I love it.
Then we have my Form 2 kiddo. Here's his ant. And so you can see he's actually tried to label. He found a soldier ant. We talked about the different kinds of ants a little bit reading. So he drew that the worker ants and soldier ants, he noticed had different shaped little pinchers on their fronts. So he drew a head of both different types to show the difference. See, there's the pincers of the different types of ant. He drew a whole ant and he labeled the head and thorax and abdomen. And then the lesson from the video I showed you at the beginning for the Form 3 kids that week was to think of 3 questions you might want to know about something you saw in nature. So I helped him write his questions. What do ants eat? How do ants talk to each other? And what are ants' antennae for? And so then we went and found the answers to those questions for him after he wrote that. And then I will show you my Form 3 kiddos journal. She decided she already knew a lot about ants. So she wanted to study earwigs. She found an earwig. So here is her.
I love it.
Let me see if I can pop this better. Oh, sorry, it's a cell phone, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to zoom in there really well. But this is her earwig drawing, which she's then labeled. And she thinks she's funny. So she has very interesting things called, here's an unusual wing carapace. Wait, is this its wings? She writes, because she wasn't sure. Then she was trying to decide. She couldn't tell if it was male or female. So that was one of her questions from the
good one.
Ask. She wrote, eyes aren't red, just a normal black. It's white or albino, or is that a mammal thing? She's not sure. So she's writing her questions, which I love, without needing to know the answers. And all of these are just observations and doodles about her earwig that she has written in her journal. Then down here at the bottom, I don't know if you can see this, she wrote, I looked it up. It is not albino. It has just shed, so there is no pigment in the exoskeleton. It will look normal soon. It is rare to, oh my gosh, you can't even read her writing. It is rare to spot one of these because they hide when they shed. So she was very excited. She found a freshly shed earwig. So these are kind of what we do.
I didn't know they shed. See, I learned something every day. It's amazing.
I didn't know either. Yeah. But all this setup in here is because when I let the nature journal, I like to put lots of colors if they want to use colors. So we have different mediums for them to do. We have their watercolors. That's always a hit often. And yeah, I don't know if anyone has questions, but that's a very fast run through of what we do for nature study across the 3 forms. But
okay, that was amazing. And I know it was like, because obviously If we had a all day in-person conference, we could all do nature study together and go outside together and get our nature journals. And I would love to have that experience, and maybe God will make that happen someday. But we are limited by Zoom. But I love how you were able to show us so many different pieces. Everyone wants to know where your maps are. So maybe in the community later, you could tell us where you get those from, because I am actually a map nerd. And I love that you have one of Europe in the before World War II, World
Well,
War One time period, I guess.
Holy shit.
But I really appreciate you showing that, because I think sometimes we feel like nature journals, like the ones on Instagram and stuff, they look so picture perfect, and they look like these works of art in the Ambleside Museum from Charlotte Mason's actual students that were taught in the House of Education. Like, they were a lot of writing and very little drawing. So I love that your kids were putting all these words and questions and things like that, and it wasn't just this beautiful work of art, watercolor brush drawing, because that's how these nature journals are supposed to be. It's a lot of the kids' words, their observations, their labeling, their things like that, and that it can be just a pencil. It doesn't have to be all these colors and all these different things as well, which I think is so important. And again, there's so many different subjects that we can include and talk about today, but I really just wanted to kind of give you a taste. Obviously, we're not going to talk about all of them, of what it is like, what some of these lessons are like, and then for you to see as a student.